2009, Joanne Lefson took her dog Oscar around the world on the World Wolf Tour.
Oscar and I, as long as we're together, as long as he knows that I'm sort of close by, he's really cool for anything.
Many call Joanne crazy, and she's fine with that. Her focus simply to raise awareness on the plight of the millions of homeless dogs around the world. We call her a modern-day Francis of Assisi.
I'm not one for needles, but all these owners of their dogs are lining up to give their dogs rabies shots.
Oscar himself was a sheltered dog Joanne rescued from the Cape of Good Hope SPCA. It wasn't long before she recognized his star power and decided to put it to good use.
Oscar's from South Africa.
Oh! For 9 months, Joe and Oscar visited 36 countries across 5 continents on their worldwide adventure. And always the message was the same.
The real message is to show Oscar's the coolest dog on the planet and to just tell people that, if you want a dog in your life, to please go to a shelter.
Then in January last year, the unthinkable happened. Joanne was reversing her car when she hit Oscar. He didn't survive.
Oscar was my best friend. I mean, he was really my life. And I knew it was a little bit out of balance, but I wouldn't have changed it for the world. It was pure bliss for those 9 years. And I think the only thing that keeps me going forward is to do things that I know that would make Oscar proud. Crazy things.
And then in August, Joanne was with a television crew at a donkey sanctuary which she runs in a remote desert region of northern India.
It's the most depressing place you could possibly imagine, and all the animals run away when people come there. And we were doing this interview, and in the middle of it, this little fuzzy bull came charging towards me, sort of stumbling as if he was drunk. Hi, boy. And I think he was about to die. I mean, he probably hadn't had water or food for weeks, if not months. And I'm just sitting there going, now what?
Now, it's probably unusual in that area for a dog to come up to you, am I right?
Yeah, it doesn't happen at all. In fact, I'm kind of sometimes a bit of afraid of some of the stray dogs there. Maybe we'll call him Rupee.
Well, after naming the dog Rupee, Joanne left him at the donkey sanctuary and returned home to Cape Town.
Only really when I was flying back to Cape Town that I started thinking about it and thinking that maybe there was something bigger in this. I didn't know. It was that unique that it made me consider, what is the meaning of this moment.
Oscar had died before he and Joanne had completed the final leg of their World Wolf Tour. This was to have been Expedition Mount Everest.
I knew that I still wanted to complete that journey. And I just thought, the fact that Rupee is already in the Himalayas, maybe he would be the right little guy to champion this project, because after all, who better than one of the little guys that Oscar spent his whole life, campaigning for.
And so a month later, Joe returned to India.
He has no idea what's about to happen. He was in better condition. I mean, he was still very skinny, but he was twice the size, and he kind of recognized me. He just wagged his tail a little bit.
How did you break the news to Rupee that he was about to go climbing?
He didn't have a choice. Poor thing.
From life on a rubbish dump, now the world was at Rupee's paws. Before the climb, there were sights to take in. First stop, the Taj Mahal.
Jan, did you research what it would be like taking a dog to Mount Everest?
Altitude also affects dogs, but knowing that he was from the Himalayas, I knew that he would be fine, and the veterinarian confirmed that. I did have a pair of little snow booties for him because Oscar hated the snow, so I thought that maybe, Rupee wouldn't like it, but he wanted nothing of that. I mean, Rupee might be a bit fragile and a bit sort of be a puppy, but he's not a sissy.
It was on the 12th of October when Rupee's expedition party flew into Lukla, the world's most dangerous airport and the gateway to Mount Everest.
Rupee is actually a Buddhist mutt because he's a Himalayan dog. So part of his ritual is to spin the wheels for good karma every single day. All the local village people, the Sherpas and stuff, you could just hear them every time we passed a village, every time we passed a group or whatever, you could hear the guides and the porters going, oh, and looking at the dog, because they were like, okay, what's up? What is this about?
Now, what about the hero of the tale, Rupee?
I think he just loved the walks, eh? There was only one day which was where he kind of just seemed a bit tired, and basically the porter picked him up and carried him for 3 hours. I don't know what he thought. I sometimes wish that I could get into a dog's mind sometimes and wonder, but what a dog's life, you know, 7, 8 days of walking every single day, lots of things to sniff, you know, yaks and donkeys and people.
8 days after leaving Lukla, the Slumdog expedition arrived at base camp Mount Everest. For Jo, it was an emotional moment as she placed Oscar's favorite toy and tied prayer flags with Oscar's blessings.
For me, obviously, this trip is about finishing off a circle for Oscar. And it says, God in physical form, but never forgotten, my dearest boy, your spirit will always be a part of me in this life's journey and beyond forever.
It was all in Oscar's memory, and so it was special for me and Oscar to be able to do that, in, you know, even if it wasn't exactly as the way it was supposed to be.
Expedition Mount Everest ended with barely a whimper, but all of a sudden the media interest literally snowballed, and Joanne's message was being heard around the world.
From Slumdog to Mountaineer, meet Rupi.
When I got back, a lady from the UK, who's on my Facebook page, asked me for some images and a bit of the story. And a couple of days later, it's all over the UK press, like the first dog to climb Mount Everest. I'm like, that's Rupi, you know. It is a fact that he's the first documented dog to climb Mount Everest, but, you know, he didn't go to the top, he went to base camp, but it's still on Mount Everest. And then from there, you know, the American media just jumped on it.
It is the ultimate underdog tale. Rupi, a once abandoned pup, making canine history.
Becoming the first mutt to climb Mount Everest.
After all her trips and expeditions with Oscar and now Rupi, Joanne feels that it's time to savor the beauty of Franschhoek, but not just to relax, rather to set up a home for abandoned dogs. You guessed it, Oscar's Ark.
It's a beautiful property, you know, with an education center of sorts where, you know, kids can come and learn about these different stories of these different dogs from around the world, and what amazing stories can be told when an underdog, a shelter dog, is given a second chance.
A great legacy for Oscar.
Yeah. I think the only way to try and find some forgiveness in what happened is honoring his legacy, honoring what he's about, and also my absolute appreciation for him being in my life and for giving me a life and making every breath worthwhile, not just when he was in my life, but even, you know, above and beyond that.